Lieutenant Commander John Miller stared at the view screen in horror. The diplomatic vessel, Earth's pride and best hope for peaceful relations, burst into flames against the backdrop of stars. Debris scattered in a perfect sphere of destruction. One moment, they were transmitting greetings to the Galactic Concord delegation. The next, Khazari weapons fire had reduced them to space dust. They didn't even warn them, whispered Communications Officer Lily Grant, her face pale in the blue glow of her console. Miller's ship, the U.S. Dauntless, had been hanging back as a ceremonial escort. They weren't armed for combat. Nobody had expected to need weapons at a peace conference. All hands, battle stations, Miller ordered, his voice steady despite the rage and fear churning in his gut. Prepare for emergency jump. The bridge crew moved with shocked precision. They all knew they would be next. The Khazari warship turned toward them, its bizarre organic metallic hull gleaming menacingly. The translator caught fragments of their communication. Primitive species, unworthy of Concord membership. Make example. Sir, 3 more Khazari vessels decloaking to our stern, reported the sensor officer. Miller closed his eyes for just 1 second. Send emergency transmission to Earth. Attach all sensor logs. Then get us out of here. The Dauntless shuddered as it absorbed the first hits. They wouldn't survive long enough for a proper jump. Miller ordered a desperate blind jump. Dangerous, but their only chance. As stars blurred around them, Miller made a silent promise to the 47 diplomats and crew who had just died. Earth would remember. The year 2157 was supposed to mark humanity's grand entrance to galactic society. Instead, it became the year of betrayal. The Dauntless limped home with its terrible news. The official response from the Galactic Concord arrived 3 days later, a regrettable misunderstanding. The Khazari claimed they had detected weapons powering up. The other Concord species expressed condolences, but accepted the Khazari explanation. Case closed. Earth was offered a restricted, probationary status in the Concord, with severe limitations on space travel, technology development, and military capacity. They slaughter our people, then expect us to accept second-class status, President Rivera said in the emergency session of the United Earth Council. We will not. Earth withdrew from all contact with alien civilizations. Border beacons warned away approaching ships. The few human colonies already established in nearby systems were quietly evacuated. To the galaxy, it appeared that humanity had retreated in fear, accepting its place as a primitive, defeated species not ready for the galactic community. The truth was very different. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, Admiral Howard led the first meeting of the new Earth Defense Force. We've been naive, he told the assembled military leaders. We thought peaceful contact was the goal of advanced civilizations. We were wrong. Out there, it's about power. And we're going to need a lot more of it. The Mars facility was just the beginning. Throughout the solar system, hidden shipyards and research stations sprang into existence. The jump drive technology that had saved the Dauntless became the focus of intense development. Weapons research accelerated, defense systems evolved. And in the shadows of Neptune's rings, the first of the Phantom Fleet took shape, ships designed with a single purpose: to protect humanity from a hostile universe. For 70 years, Earth maintained its isolation. To watching alien eyes, humans appeared to be licking their wounds, focusing on their home planet, perhaps even regressing technologically. Occasional probes sent by curious Concord scientists reported minimal space activity and outdated defenses. The Concord forgot about humanity. The Khazari congratulated themselves on eliminating a potential rival before it could develop. The Sylphids, an aggressive empire at the Concord's edges, never even bothered to include Earth in their expansion plans. None of them knew that deep in hidden bases throughout the solar system, humanity was preparing. Ship by ship, weapon by weapon, soldier by soldier, Earth built its strength in absolute secrecy. Lieutenant Commander John Miller, now gray-haired and scarred, often visited the memorial to the lost diplomatic mission. Standing before the eternal flame, he would think about the coming day when humanity would reveal its true face to the galaxy. "We're almost ready," he whispered to the names engraved in stone. "And they won't see us coming." Commander Samantha Collins moved swiftly through the curved hallways of Luna Base, the main hub of Earth's intelligence operations. The data crystal in her hand felt heavy despite its small size. What it contained would change everything. She reached Admiral Frank Donovan's office and waited as the security scan confirmed her identity. The door slid open with a soft hiss. "Commander Collins," Donovan said, looking up from his desk. His weathered face showed little emotion, but his eyes were sharp. "This better be important enough to bypass regular channels." "It is, sir." She placed the data crystal on his desk. Long-range sensors picked this up from the Noven system. The Admiral slotted the crystal into his reader. Three-dimensional images formed in the air between them. The peaceful colony world of Nova, home to a gentle species known for their art and philosophy, was under attack. Massive sylphid warships hung in orbit, raining destruction on the surface below. "When did this happen?" Donovan asked, his voice tight. 18 hours ago, sir. The Sylphid Empire crossed 3 sectors of Concord space to get there. No one stopped them." The Admiral's jaw clenched as the images showed Noven civilians being rounded up. "The Concorde is useless. They've grown too corrupt to protect their own members." Collins took a deep breath. "Sir, we have a battle group that could reach the Noven system in 36 hours. Donovan looked at her sharply. "You know our standing orders. 70 years of isolation and secrecy. We reveal nothing until we're fully ready." "With respect, sir, we've been ready for a decade. We've just been waiting for the right moment." Collins gestured to the images of suffering Novens. "What are we building our strength for, if not for this?" The Admiral stood and walked to the window overlooking the massive underground hangar. Below, technicians swarmed around ships that no one outside Earth's military had ever seen. The pride of the fleet, the U.S. Horizon, dominated the center, a sleek predator designed to redefine space warfare. "I'll call the Earth Council," he said finally. "But prepare your case, Commander. There will be strong opposition." 3 hours later, Collins stood before the 12 members of the Earth Council. The debate was fierce. "We reveal ourselves now. We lose our greatest advantage, surprise," argued Counselor Henry Blackwood. "The plan was always to wait until the Phantom Fleet was at full strength." "While we wait, innocent beings die," countered Counselor Elena Diaz. "What's the point of our power if we don't use it to protect others?" Back and forth the arguments went. Collins watched silently until finally asked for her military assessment. "The Sylphid Empire believes humanity is weak and primitive," she said. "They don't know about our technological advances. The shock value alone would give us a tactical advantage. And strategically, this gives us the moral high ground with other species when we finally reveal ourselves fully." The vote was 7-5 in favor of intervention. Admiral Donovan wasted no time. Within hours, the command center of Luna Base buzzed with activity as the first phase of Operation Ghostlight activated. On the bridge of the U.S. Horizon, Captain Eric Ward received his orders directly from Donovan. "The Horizon will go in first alone," the Admiral explained. "Use the void phase technology to approach undetected. Assess the situation, gather intelligence, then strike with full surprise. The rest of the fleet will follow your signal." Ward nodded, his expression grim but determined. "And our rules of engagement, sir? Protect the Novens at all costs. Force the Sylphids to withdraw. Show them exactly what humanity has become, but don't show them everything. Keep some surprises in reserve." In the ship's mess hall, the crew listened as the mission was explained. Some looked nervous, others excited. Lieutenant Kate Martinez, the tactical officer, studied the Sylphid ship configurations with intense focus. "We've trained for this our entire careers," she told the worried navigator beside her. "But they've never even seen what we can do." Throughout the ship, preparations continued. Engineers made final adjustments to the void phase drive. Weapons officers ran diagnostics on systems that would make most Concord species gape in disbelief. 7 decades of isolation were about to end. Humanity was stepping back onto the galactic stage, not as suppliants begging for acceptance, but as warriors bringing justice. The Horizon's engines hummed to life. Captain Ward gave the order to depart, and Earth's most advanced battleship slipped its moorings and accelerated toward the stars. In the silence of space, a ghost ship began its hunt. The U.S. Horizon slipped through the darkness of space like a knife through water. No engine glow betrayed its position. No heat signature registered on scanners. The void phase technology bent light and energy around the massive ship, making it a ghost among stars. On the bridge, Captain Eric Ward watched the tactical display as they approached the Noven system. His face remained calm, but his fingers tapped lightly on the arm of his command chair, the only sign of his tension. Sylphid fleet positions confirmed. Lieutenant Kate Martinez reported from her station. 23 warships in high orbit. Ground forces deployed across the northern continent. Ward nodded. And the Novens. Heavy civilian casualties in the cities, Martine said, her voice tight with controlled anger. Survivors being gathered in processing centers. Standard Sylphid procedure before slave transport ships arrive. The captain turned to his communications officer. Any Concord response? One diplomatic vessel sent a protest message, then departed the system. The officer replied, "No military response whatsoever." Ward wasn't surprised. The Galactic Concord had grown weak, allowing aggressive empires like the Sylphids to chip away at its borders. They talked of peace while ignoring atrocities. "Take us in closer," Ward ordered. "Keep void phase at maximum." The Horizon moved silently toward the heart of the Sylphid invasion fleet. They passed so close to an enemy destroyer that the bridge crew could see individual Sylphids moving behind viewports. Not one alien sensor detected them. "Their technology hasn't advanced much in 70 years, observed the science officer. "They've grown complacent." "Complacency kills," Ward replied softly. On the Sylphid command ship, Supreme Conqueror Vexlar watched with satisfaction as his troops secured the planet below. The Novens had offered little resistance, just as he expected from a species that valued art and music over warfare. "Prepare the execution of their leadership council," Vexlar ordered. "Broadcast it across their communication networks. Let them understand their new place in the Empire." His second-in-command bowed. "A standard conquest, my lord. The Emperor will be pleased with the new resources and slaves." Vexlar's mandibles clicked in amusement. "This sector falls so easily. Perhaps we should push toward Earth next. Those primitives have hidden in their system for decades. Hardly worth the effort, my lord. Our scouts report they barely maintain a space presence." In Earth orbit, Admiral Donovan stood on the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, watching as the rest of the Phantom Fleet assembled. 12 battleships, 20 cruisers, and 15 special operations vessels, each representing the pinnacle of human military technology. "Status report," he demanded. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his executive officer replied. "Crews are eager. Some might be too eager." Donovan understood. For 3 generations, Earth's military had prepared in secret, building ships and weapons that had never seen actual combat. They had trained in simulations and war games, but this would be the real test. "Send to all ships," Donovan said. "Operation Ghostlight is now active. Primary objective is the protection of Noven civilians. Secondary objective is the complete removal of Sylphid forces from the system." He paused, then added, "And remind all commanders, show enough to win decisively, but keep our most advanced capabilities in reserve. The galaxy doesn't need to know everything about us. Not yet." The Phantom Fleet engaged their engines simultaneously, a carefully choreographed departure that would have been beautiful to watch if anyone had been able to see it. The void phase technology concealed their movement as they accelerated beyond the solar system. Back in the Noven system, Captain Ward positioned the horizon strategically between three Sylphid heavy cruisers. No one had detected them yet, but that was about to change. "Charge all weapons," Ward ordered. "Prepare to disengage void phase on my mark." Lieutenant Martinez monitored her tactical display. "Targeting solutions ready for all three cruisers, Captain." Ward took a deep breath. Humanity had hidden for 70 years, building its strength while nursing the wound of betrayal. The time for hiding was over. "Send one final update to the fleet," he told his communications officer. "Then drop void phase and open fire." The officer nodded. "Message sent, sir." Ward looked at the enemy ships on his view screen, completely unaware of the predator in their midst. He thought about the Novens dying on the planet below, and the diplomats who had died 70 years ago. "Drop void phase now," he commanded. "Let's introduce ourselves to the galaxy." The U.S. horizon appeared in the middle of the Sylphid invasion fleet like a ghost suddenly made solid. One moment, there was empty space between a heavy cruiser and a troop transport. The next, a massive human battleship hung there, its dark hull absorbing the light from Noven's sun. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The Sylphid sensors registered the new contact, but the operators stared in disbelief at their screens. "Unidentified battleship detected," called out a junior officer on the Sylphid command ship. He paused, running a second scan. It's human, and it's armed." Supreme Conqueror Vexlar turned from the holographic display of the planet below, his 4 eyes narrowing to slits. "Human, that's impossible. Their ships are primitive scout vessels at best." The tactical officer brought up an image on the main view screen. The sleek, predatory lines of the horizon filled the screen, clearly unlike anything the Sylphids had seen before. The hull bore minimal markings, just the ship's name, and a simple Earth flag. "It appears to be a warship, Supreme Conqueror, much larger than any human vessel in our records." Vexlar clicked his mandibles in amusement. "One ship. They send one ship against our fleet. Open a channel. Let us hear what this brave fool has to say before we destroy them." On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Ward received the incoming communication with a slight smile. "Right on schedule. They're curious enough to talk before shooting." Lieutenant Martinez nodded from her tactical station. "All weapons primed, Captain. Shield generators at full capacity. We're ready." Ward straightened his uniform and nodded to the communications officer. "Put them through." Vexlar's insectoid face appeared on the view screen. "Human vessel, you have entered restricted space. Your presence here is a violation of Concord directives and Sylphid imperial law. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded or be destroyed." Ward met the alien's gaze calmly. "This is Captain Eric Ward of the Earth Defense Force vessel Horizon. We are here in response to your unprovoked attack on a peaceful Concord member world. You will cease all military operations, withdraw your forces, and release all captured Novens immediately." A sound like grinding stones emerged from Vexlar's speech vents. A Sylphid laugh. "You are either insane or suicidal, human. Look around you. My fleet consists of 23 warships. You are one vessel. What possible threat could you pose?" Ward's expression remained calm. "A fair question. Allow me to demonstrate." He nodded to Martinez, who pressed a series of commands on her console. The Horizon's main weapons powered up, sending a ripple of energy along specialized channels in the hull. The quantum disruption cannons were weapons that no species in the Concord had ever encountered. 3 beams of blue-white energy lanced out from the horizon, each striking the different Sylphid vessel. The energy didn't impact the shields as normal weapons would. Instead, it passed through them, as if they didn't exist, interacting directly with the hull metals at a quantum level. The molecular bonds simply came apart. 3 Sylphid ships disintegrated into expanding clouds of metallic dust. Stunned silence filled the Sylphid command ship. Vexlar stared at the tactical display, unable to process what he had just witnessed. "Impossible," he whispered. Ward leaned forward in his command chair. "That was a small demonstration. Supreme Conqueror, We have more substantial weapons if needed. I'll repeat my terms. Withdraw your forces immediately and release all Noven captives. The Sylphid fleet erupted into chaotic action. Some ships began emergency jump preparations while others turned their weapons toward the horizon. Vexlar shouted orders, trying to organize a response to this impossible threat. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. Full power to forward batteries. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the horizon from multiple directions. Lieutenant Martinez watched them approach on her tactical display without concern. Gravity manipulation field active, she reported. Around the horizon, space itself seemed to bend. The incoming fire curved away, most of it missing entirely. The few hits that landed were absorbed by shields far more advanced than anything the Sylphids possessed. Ward opened a channel to all Sylphid ships. This is your final warning. The remainder of our fleet will arrive shortly. There will be no further demonstrations. As if summoned by his words, space throughout the system began to distort as more human ships emerged from void phase. The Phantom Fleet had arrived. In his command center, Vexlar faced a decision that would define his career and possibly the future of the Sylphid Empire. Fight these mysterious humans with their impossible technology, or retreat and face the Emperor's wrath. He never got to decide. The horizon fired again. The sky above Noven filled with flashes of light as the full Phantom Fleet arrived. The U.S. Valiant emerged at the head of the formation, its massive hull gleaming in the light of Noven's sun. Admiral Donovan stood on the bridge, his expression grim as he watched the tactical displays showing the ongoing battle. The horizon has already destroyed 4 Sylphid warships, reported his executive officer. Captain Ward has demonstrated remarkable restraint. Donovan nodded. He followed orders perfectly. Show our strength, but not all our capabilities. The Admiral opened a channel to all human ships. This is Admiral Donovan. Protect Noven civilians at all costs. Disable Sylphid vessels when possible, but do not hesitate to destroy those who continue to fight. The Sylphid fleet scrambled to respond to this unexpected threat. Their ships, arranged for orbital bombardment rather than defense, struggled to form battle lines. Emergency signals beamed toward Sylphid territory, calling desperately for reinforcements. On the Supreme Commander's vessel, Vexlar raged at his officers. How did they approach undetected? Who are these humans? Our intelligence said they were primitives. A tactical officer trembled as he replied. Their technology is unlike anything in our records, Supreme Commander. Their weapons cut through our shields as if they weren't there. Vexlar watched the battle displays with growing horror as more human ships appeared. These were not the actions of a species that had hidden in fear for 70 years. This was the calculated response of a predator that had been preparing. On the surface of Noven, Marine Colonel William Hayes led his troops from the landing shuttles. The Marines wore advanced combat armor that made them nearly impervious to Sylphid weapons. They moved with practiced precision toward the largest concentration camps where Novens were being held. Alpha Team, secure the northern perimeter, Hayes ordered through his command link. Bravo Team, with me to the main gate. Remember, minimal casualties among the Sylphid ground forces if possible. We want prisoners. Combat medic Lisa Rodriguez followed close behind with her medical team. When they'd reached the camp, she was horrified by what she found. Novens of all ages huddled in filthy conditions, many bearing wounds from Sylphid shock prods. We need immediate medical assistance in all sectors, she reported, kneeling beside an injured Noven child. The child's blue skin was pale with illness, its 4 eyes wide with fear. It's okay, Rodriguez said softly, activating her universal translator. We're here to help. You're safe now. The child reached out a trembling hand, touching Rodriguez's face in what she later learned was a Noven gesture of gratitude. In orbit, the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. The Sylphid ships, while numerous, could not match the advanced technology of the Phantom Fleet. Quantum disruption cannons tore through their hulls, while human shields easily absorbed Sylphid weapons fire. Admiral Donovan received a transmission from the Sylphid command ship. Supreme Commander Vexlar appeared on screen, his mandibles twitching with barely controlled rage. "We offer terms of withdrawal," Vexlar said, his translator giving his words a mechanical quality. "Allow my fleet to depart with honor." Donovan's reply was cold. "There is no honor in attacking peaceful worlds. Your terms are rejected. Our terms are simple: unconditional withdrawal from all Concord territories." At his communications station, Officer Charlie Bennett suddenly straightened. "Admiral, I'm intercepting distress calls from multiple systems. The Sylphids have colonies and forces spread across 12 Concord worlds." Donovan processed this information quickly. What had begun as a rescue mission for one world had revealed a much larger Sylphid invasion than anyone had realized. The Concord had failed even more completely than they had thought. "Send to Earth Command," he ordered. "Request permission to expand Operation Ghostlight to all affected systems." On the horizon, Captain Ward oversaw repairs to the damage his ship had taken in the initial surprise attack. Lieutenant Martinez approached with a datapad. "Sir, sensors detect 5 Sylphid dreadnoughts entering the system. Reinforcements have arrived." Ward nodded calmly. "Inform the fleet. Prepare second phase tactical options." He paused, then added with a small smile, "Let's show them what else humanity has been working on during our quiet years." Throughout the system, human forces solidified their positions. On the planet, Colonel Hayes' Marines secured all 6 detention camps, freeing thousands of Novens. In the space between planets, the dance of combat continued, with humanity clearly leading. After 70 years of silence, humanity had returned to the galactic stage. And they were just getting started. News of humanity's return spread through the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. Communication relays carried the shocking reports from system to system. Humans had defeated a Sylphid battle fleet with ease. The primitive species that had hidden for 70 years had emerged with technology that outmatched anything in known space. On the Kezari homeworld, War Council leader Drak II watched the footage with growing alarm. The humans had not forgotten the destruction of their diplomatic vessel 7 decades ago. Would they now seek revenge? "Increase border patrols," he ordered his generals, "and send a message to the Concord. We must present a unified response to this human aggression." But the Galactic Concord was in chaos. An emergency session had been called, with representatives from 200 species gathering in the Great Hall of Concord Station. Arguments echoed through the chamber as faction leaders tried to make sense of what had happened. "The humans violated 70 years of isolation agreements," shouted the Sylphid representative. "Agreements you violated first by attacking a Concord member world," countered the elderly Noven delegate, his voice weak but determined. The High Chancellor of the Concord called for order, his amplified voice booming through the hall. "We will address this crisis in a civilized manner." The human action, while concerning, was in defense of a Concord member. "We must." The chamber doors slid open, interrupting him. A human woman walked calmly into the hall, flanked by 2 tall Marines in dress uniforms. The chamber fell silent. "Ambassador Nicole Harper of Earth," she announced herself. "I believe this discussion concerns my people." Gasps and whispers filled the room. No human had set foot on Concord Station since the diplomatic disaster 70 years ago. "You have no standing here," the High Chancellor said, recovering quickly. "Earth rejected Concord membership." Harper smiled thinly. "We rejected second-class status, not cooperation with peaceful species. I come bearing evidence that the Concord should review." She activated a small device, and holographic images filled the center of the chamber. They showed records of Sylphid attacks on 17 worlds over the past decade. And more damning, evidence of Concord officials accepting bribes to look the other way. "The Concord has failed in its primary mission," Harper said into the stunned silence. "It has allowed corruption to blind it to aggression. Earth will not stand for this." As the diplomatic confrontation unfolded on Concord Station, Lieutenant Peter Walsh led a small team of Special Forces operators deep into Sylphid territory. Their ship, disguised as a common trading vessel, approached a massive space station orbiting a barren moon. Thermal scans confirm at least 3,000 life forms inside, reported Sergeant Lewis, matching known profiles of at least 12 different species. Walsh nodded grimly. A processing center, just like intelligence suggested. Their mission was dangerous but critical, to rescue enslaved beings from a sylphid facility where captives were sorted before being sent to labor camps throughout the Empire. Walsh's team docked at the station, using forged credentials to gain entry. Once inside, they moved quickly through service corridors, avoiding sylphid guards when possible and silently neutralizing them when necessary. In the central processing area, Walsh saw hundreds of beings confined in energy cells, children separated from parents, elderly left without care, all waiting to be shipped to whatever fate the sylphids decided. Begin liberation sequence, Walsh ordered. His team placed small devices at key points throughout the facility. When activated, they would disable security systems and open all cells. A young Lyran female noticed them and stared with wide, amber eyes. Walsh put a finger to his lips, then pointed upward, the universal sign to wait. She nodded slightly. The team reached the main control room and subdued the sylphid operators inside. Walsh connected their systems to a secure channel. Horizon Actual, this is Rescue Team. Package secured. Request extraction support. Captain Ward's voice came through clearly. Extraction fleet arriving in 3 minutes. Proceed with liberation. Walsh activated the devices. Throughout the station, energy barriers flickered and died. Alarm systems went silent. The captives realized what was happening and began moving toward the docking bays, where human ships were already arriving. The liberated beings told stories that shocked even hardened human soldiers, tales of atrocities committed not just by the sylphids, but by other civilized Concord races. The corruption went deeper than anyone had suspected. As the rescue ships departed, Walsh looked back at the now empty facility. This was just one small station. Intelligence suggested there were hundreds more like it throughout sylphid space. The war, he realized, had only just begun. And it wasn't just against the sylphids, but against a corrupt system that had allowed such suffering to exist. The U.S. horizon drifted silently above the small green moon of Lyra, its weapons powered down but ready. Captain Eric Ward stood on the bridge, watching as a sleek alien vessel approached. This meeting was a risk, but one worth taking. The Lion ship is hailing us, Lieutenant Martinez reported. Their shields are lowered as agreed. Ward nodded. Open the channel. The view screen flickered to life, showing the feline features of Commander Syra, leader of the Lion Resistance. Her amber eyes studied Ward carefully before she spoke. Captain Ward, my people have suffered under sylphid rule for 15 years. Many resistance movements have sought outside help. None came until now. Humanity understands what it means to be abandoned by those who should have helped, Ward replied. We're offering more than words. Syra's ears flattened slightly. Your ships are powerful, yes. But the sylphids control 12 systems. The Khazari, their allies, control 9 more. Can you fight them all? We don't have to, Ward said. We're establishing safe zones, areas where we can guarantee protection. Your people will be welcome there. The Lion commander's whiskers twitched with interest. Show me. 20 hours later, Ward and Syra stood in the command center of the recently liberated Noven space station. Around them, representatives from 6 different species watched as engineer Diana Foster activated the main display. We call them free zones, Foster explained, pointing to the highlighted areas on the galactic map. Earth has established defensive grids in these regions. Any ship attacking within these zones will face immediate response from our automated defense systems. A reptilian Xanti delegate hissed skeptically. The Concord has promised protection before. Words are easy. Foster smiled. These aren't words. She pressed a series of controls, and small satellites around the station powered up. This is the outer layer of the defense grid. It's already active. The display showed the network of defensive satellites extending through the Noven system and two adjacent ones. Red warning markers indicated sylphid battle groups approaching the boundaries. "Let them come," Ward said quietly. "They'll learn quickly." While new alliances formed in the free zones, the Sylphid Emperor was not idle. In his palace on the homeworld, Emperor Zoltax summoned his most elite assassins. "The humans have humiliated us," he told the black-armored warriors. "Their leaders must be eliminated, particularly this Captain Ward and Admiral Donovan. Without them, their forces will falter." The lead assassin bowed. "It shall be done, Emperor. We have agents already infiltrating their systems." On board the human space station Artemis, communications specialist Greg Hoffman stared at his screen, a cold feeling growing in his stomach. For 3 days, he had been tracking unusual patterns in the communication network. Now he was certain. Someone is planning to attack Concord civilian targets using signals that will look like they came from human ships, he told his supervisor. "It's an elaborate frame job." His supervisor frowned. "Are you certain?" "That would turn the entire Concord against us." "Absolutely certain," Hoffman replied. "The signal forgeries are sophisticated, but they don't quite match our encryption patterns. Someone wants to make us look like monsters." This information raced up the chain of command until it reached Admiral Donovan aboard the U.S. Valiant, now holding position near Concord Station. Around the massive diplomatic hub, ships from dozens of species had gathered, some in support of humanity, others opposed. "We're facing a tipping point," Donovan told his officers. "The galaxy is choosing sides. The Sylphids and Khazari are trying to paint us as aggressors. If they succeed, we'll face a war on multiple fronts." The Admiral studied the tactical display showing the positions of all known fleets. The Phantom Fleet was formidable, but not unlimited. They needed allies. On the planet below, Ambassador Harper continued her diplomatic offensive. With each meeting, more species pledged support to the human-led coalition. Those who had suffered under Sylphid expansion were especially eager to join. "We don't seek to rule," Harper told them. "We seek justice and stability. The Concord failed because it placed politics above people. We won't make that mistake." As darkness fell over Concord Station, both sides prepared for what would come next. In shipyards throughout human space, new vessels were under construction. In the free zones, refugee ships arrived hourly. And on the borders, Sylphid and Khazari forces gathered for what their leaders promised would be a swift victory. The galaxy held its breath, watching as a new order took shape from the ashes of the old. The combined Sylphid-Khazari attack came at dawn, just as Admiral Donovan had predicted. 60 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Centauri system, where humanity had established its largest free zone. The refugee ships there, over 200 vessels carrying civilians from a dozen different species, immediately began emergency evacuation procedures. "Right on schedule," Donovan said calmly from the bridge of the U.S. Valiant. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Protect the evacuation corridors at all costs." The Phantom Fleet moved to intercept, 27 ships against 60. The odds looked poor on paper, but humanity had spent 70 years preparing for this moment. Captain Ward and the U.S. Horizon led the vanguard, approaching the enemy fleet head-on. The ship had been repaired after the Battle of Noven, its hull still bearing scars from that first engagement. "They've improved their shields," Lieutenant Martinez reported from her tactical station. "They've adapted to our quantum disruption cannons." Ward nodded. "As expected. Deploy phase mines and prepare the gravity lance." The Horizon released a field of seemingly empty space ahead of the enemy formation. When the first Sylphid ships passed through it, the mines activated, briefly pulling the vessels into a partial phase shift that disrupted their shields from the inside. The battle spread across the system as ships engaged in a complex dance of attack and defense. Human vessels demonstrated maneuvers that defied conventional space combat tactics, using their advanced drives to execute turns and accelerations that other species had thought impossible. But the Sylphid Khazari forces had numbers on their side, and they pressed the attack relentlessly. 3 human cruisers fell in the first hour of combat. The Horizon itself took heavy damage, protecting a convoy of refugee ships. A massive explosion rocked the bridge, throwing Ward from his command chair. Smoke filled the air as emergency systems fought to contain the damage. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 7, cried the damage control officer. Main power failing. Ward pulled himself up, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Reroute power from the void drive. Maintain shields at all costs. Another hit sent a support beam crashing down, pinning the captain to the deck. Martinez rushed to his side. "Sir, you need medical attention." Ward could feel the broken ribs shifting in his chest, his vision blurred with pain. "Take command, Lieutenant. The ship is yours." Martinez straightened, suddenly aware of the weight of responsibility. Communications, shipwide channel. She took a deep breath. "All hands, this is Lieutenant Martinez. Captain Ward is injured. I have assumed command. Continue battle operations." Throughout the system, the fighting intensified. On the U.S. Valiant, Admiral Donovan received word that a joint Sylphid Khazari strike force had broken through and was heading for the defenseless refugee ships. "Divert the Intrepid and Dauntless to intercept," he ordered, "and prepare to activate Protocol Omega." His executive officer looked startled. "Sir, that technology hasn't been field-tested. No time like the present," Donovan replied grimly. Throughout the battle zone, small devices ejected from human ships, forming a grid-like pattern. When activated, they created a field that drastically reduced the efficiency of energy weapons, effectively nullifying the superior firepower of the larger enemy fleet. The tide of battle shifted. Human ships, now fighting on more equal terms, began to push the enemy back. Under Lieutenant Martinez's command, even the damaged Horizon rejoined the fight, its weapons finding weak points in enemy defenses. As the Sylphid flagship attempted to retreat, Admiral Donovan opened a channel to all ships in the system. "Attention all vessels. This conflict ends today. We offer terms, not for surrender, but for a new beginning." His words reached every ship in the battle. On the Khazari command vessel, even the hardened warrior Drak-2 paused to listen. 70 years ago, the Concord failed its members. It allowed corruption and aggression to flourish. That ends today. Earth offers terms for a new interstellar accord based on justice, not power. All who wish to join us are welcome. All who wish to continue this fight should know that this is merely a fraction of humanity's strength. In the weeks that followed, the corrupt elements of the Concord were exposed and removed. The Sylphid Empire contracted as liberated worlds declared independence. The Khazari, seeing the future clearly, sued for peace. On Earth, crowds gathered to welcome home the fleet. The U.S. Horizon, battle-scarred but undefeated, led the procession of ships. Lieutenant Martinez, now Captain Martinez, stood on the bridge beside a recovering Ward. "What happens now?" she asked him. Ward looked at the blue-green planet below, the home humanity had protected by becoming stronger than those who had once threatened it. "Now," he said with a small smile, "we build something better."